Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim, this is a Cash Gun AC Sports Report, and I want you guys to start thinking for yourselves, and AC is here too if I didn't say that. We want you guys to start thinking for yourselves and forming your own opinions about cities. Not taking it from whatever news outlet you hear, not taking it from reading a paper on the internet from someone or seeing it on TV, anything like that. Hearing it on the radio, anything along those lines. And just think about what we're about to show you, all these examples that we are about to show you, that prove that the national media, because it's a popular thing to do, purposely blows up everything that happens in this city of Philadelphia. Now, for every case, there's always an equal counter case. You guys just don't normally hear about it because of the fact that it's not reported as much. I don't blame anyone for that, except the media outlets and the radio and newspaper. I mean, that all falls under the same category of the people that choose not to report it. Now, there's a lot of cases, and we will get to them all, of negative things that happen in Philly that people blow up when they talk about how bad a sports fans Philadelphia is. And AC, what is the first one?
The first one is the booing of Michael Irvin at Veterans Stadium on his career-ending neck injury.
Now, first of all, the thing to think about this is the fact that how many years ago did the vet close, AC?
This year it will be 7.
7 or 8? Somewhere.
8, actually.
Yeah, I think it's 8. The final season was 2003 for the Phillies, and then the 2003-2004 season for the Eagles.
Yes.
The year that Rondé Barber picked that ball off to send them to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's obviously that case, and that doesn't sound too great. It wouldn't make a ton of sense to do that. I'm not going to sit here and support what they did. But for something that happened, about how many years ago would you say that was?
That was in 1996. I know that for a fact. I believe it was in October.
And
1996.
Do we not still hear about that every single time?
Oh, yeah. It's like one of the main arguments.
Yeah, well, guess what, guys? I have an equal counter case that proves not only that the national media hates on Philly, but how New York-based they really are. Last season, I believe, yeah, it was last season, in August, Ryan Howard slid back into second base awkwardly and tore something in his leg that cost him about a month and a half of the season, and then the rest of the season into the playoffs when he came back, he just wasn't really the same player. Now, this was shown at Citi Field on the big jumbotron, whatever they call it, the big
screen in left.
Yeah, the big screen in left field. This was shown there, and the New York Mets fans, guess what they did? I mean, I thought this only happened in Philadelphia, but what happened there?
Resounding cheering.
What? No. And how much did you hear about that? I didn't know because I wasn't informed by the news. If this happened in Philadelphia, we'd be talking about it 15 years later.
To be honest, I didn't even know about it until you told me about it.
Yes, and I heard about it via Twitter, where a Phillies fan who happened to turn on the Mets game for a while said, "Wow, the Mets just booed." So there is case one that proves that you can make every city look bad if you pull the right strings. Okay, so our second case, and it's one that seems pretty clear. What is the other, one of the many excuses people bring up when they talk about Philadelphia fans being horrible people?
Sadly, it is something that happened legitimately 50 years ago. Those Snowballs and booing of Santa Claus.
Yeah, and the Eagles were having a horrible season. The season went down the tubes. And normally on Christmas, they had this Santa walk by at halftime. So they pull out a guy from the crowd because the real Santa didn't show up. Now, the guy was drunk. There's the first part about it, and I guess that really doesn't mean much, but You know, you like if you dress up in a Santa costume in a place where there's kids, that you probably would not be a great influence getting drunk. I mean, that's just my thought. The second, and the thing about that really pisses me off is the fact that it's a snowball. Who cares? As if they haven't done that in a Jets game. They haven't thrown a snowball at an opposing fan. As if they didn't do that at a Giants game. As if they didn't do that at a Patriots game and all these other cities. But it wasn't reported. So it's not brought up by these people. That to me is what makes me sick.
It's just pitiful. It really is.
It really is. And it happened 50 years ago.
That we're talking about this like it has any merit in any discussion, but yet still people bring it up. And I'm like, dude, my grandfather barely was alive for that. And you're still talking.
And you guys are watching this show either on your phone or on your computer. Guess what? They didn't even have those when this incident took place. They didn't even exist. And I hear the argument, oh, but it still happened. So you're going to blame the fans now for something that other people did. Really, so how come white people aren't blamed for slavery now? I mean, that seems like a pretty odd, that seems like the same thing to me, doesn't it?
Same concept, just on a larger scale.
Yeah, I don't mean to make them on the same scale, but it's kind of the case that makes the most sense. So, throwing a snowball apparently is bad. Let's just run with that like we're the national media here. Let's say we do that, and basically, there have been other cases where things have been thrown at other stadiums. Let's go to San Diego, for example. And the one thing I want to get across is I'm not trying to make any of these other cities look bad, I'm just proving a point. Is that in San Diego, and I believe it was like 2007, the year Bonds was going after the home run record, I was watching a game, and right as they were about to cut to the commercial, I saw the camera flash towards where Barry Bonds was heading into the dugout, and guess what? They threw a syringe at him. And Barry Bonds is a jerk. We all know it. I'm not trying to take that away. But doesn't that seem a little worse than throwing a snowball at someone?
I've seen multiple cities do this, not just San Diego, but a lot of the division rival series, the division rival teams, pardon me, do things like that to Barry Bonds as he was going after the home run record. I don't say that if I was one of them that I wouldn't think about doing it because
no, but come on, you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't go to the actual trouble of getting a syringe first of all, and then throwing it at them. I mean that could seriously injure someone. A syringe, it could hurt them at least. I guess injure. I don't want to be one of those people like you hear at school. Oh, you can't wear that studded bracelet. It might poke someone's eyes out. I don't want to sound that ridiculous. But in all honesty, a syringe really could hit someone the wrong way and hurt them. And that's the thing. It just goes unnoticed.
It's also just a dick move.
Yeah, it basically is. And it's fitting that it happened to Barry Bonds because that's what he is. But it still doesn't make it right. So those are the first two cases of evidence that I hope prove some things to you guys. Now, case 3 is a thing that has gone highly reported over the last few years, that a guy last year at the Phillies game, he was drunk, stuck his hand down his throat, and unfortunately it puked on a little girl. And I mean, that is I think if this happened to a guy who was, if he did it on a guy who was like 35 years old, it would have been a smaller story. But he did it. I'm not going to condone what he did. What I'm going to tell you is that this guy's not a real fan, and that when you're drunk, you don't really know what you're doing necessarily.
Yeah, that's completely agreed. But I mean, no one's going to condone his behavior. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, no, I'm not going to do that because that was just, that's pretty horrible. But,
Yeah.
What's the counter case? Let's get to the counter case because it's just as bad.
The counter case is how many days? This was like a day or two ago.
This was like 2 days ago. At this point in time,
Okay, I think you should explain it because you know the thing better.
Well, basically, what happened was, and this has gone pretty unreported, so I'm just going off of what I've seen from multiple people and from Twitter and everything, and actually a YouTube video, is a guy that was drunk outside of Giant Stadium at the first night of this series, this August series that we're talking about. He was drunk. He was driving his car, and he hit a 9-year-old. I believe it was a girl. I believe it was a girl, and it was a Phillies fan. I don't know if he hit the Phillies fan intentionally because of that, but because he was drunk. But the point is, he did it, and he hit and ran. That's basically the story.
That pretty much sums it up, and yet this goes highly unreported yet again. And the obvious thing is that, well, the national media doesn't really have a problem with, and let's be honest here. The national media is, for the most part, they are New York based.
And Los Angeles. But nothing ever happens in Los Angeles.
And they're not good, but let's go with the New York part here.
Okay.
They're not going to go after San Francisco because they really don't care. If they had a chance to go after Texas, who beat them last year in the playoffs, I'm sure they would do that.
Or even Boston.
They go after, believe me, they go after Boston.
Oh, yeah, they do. It's what we're talking about right there.
But, and I just kind of lost my train of thought, the point is, it happened in Philadelphia, and it goes to the point where everyone talks about it so negatively, and it makes a whole city look bad, but an actual guy actually puts someone at risk of dying, and that's just, it's a tiny
more
story.
more than one person if he was drunk behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah. And that is a Giants fan, so that means all of San Francisco, they are bad people. That must mean what that means.